Most people don't struggle with research, they struggle while explaining it. If you have ever felt nervous, rushed, or unclear while presenting your research work, then this video might help you improve that. Hello everyone, welcome to CyberKit. Today, through this video, I will show you a simple framework to help you present your research in a clear and confident manner without overcomplicating it. Here's the truth. Most research presentations fail because people treat them like a paper. They overload slides, read everything, and they forget one key element. Your presentation is not a paper, it's a story. So, the first important thing is structuring your presentation. Tell a story. Frame the research as a mystery by explaining the problem, the knowledge gap, and then your solution to that problem. And finally, why it matters, what impact it has in the society or in the community as a whole. Most people skip the last part, that is, stating the impact of your study. That's when people lose the audience. So, structure your narrative, use the logical flow, starting from the title, your background, objectives, methods, results, discussion, and conclusion. So there are basically two kinds of presentations, oral and poster, and the format could be different for both. But one thing remain common in both oral and poster presentation, that is your preparation and practice. First thing that is important is rehearse out loud. So before your actual presentation, whenever you have your slides ready or your poster ready, try to do the presentation at least 4 times, read out loud, act as if you are in the actual presentation. Also, rehearsing not only helps you, to understand the content better, but also will help you find areas where you can make some changes, and also it will reduce reliance on the notes that you write for your presentation. And another important thing is timing yourself, because in most of the presentation, almost all of them, they have a certain time limit for your presentation, maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So you need to make sure that you are within that time frame, you complete within that time frame without rushing. So also another important thing is engaging your peers. You can engage your audience in the beginning of your presentation, maybe by asking a question which is related to your work, or you can just share a story, you can share a small instance, that you can later on connect with your research work. When people get that in the beginning, then they will be very curious to know more, so that way you can get engaged with the audience. And also, it is important to know your data, because after a presentation you will be asked questions. So if you are unaware of the methodologies or the results, then you might be in trouble. So you want to be familiar with every aspect of your research work to handle the questions effortlessly. So there's a saying, less is more. I cannot agree enough, because in your slide you don't want to put too much information. So limit to one idea per slide so that audience doesn't get lost. They'll be able to focus on only that aspect. So another important thing is using visuals over text. So as we know, if we see visuals, when somebody is presenting, then we get drawn to that presentation more compared to just having bullet points. So using of graphs, picture, or illustrations, whether it be in your method section or in the result section, it will be very helpful. Also, having a clear design is very important to ensure readability of your posters or the slides. And it can be complemented with using the colors that can go well with those slides, or the poster color itself, and also using the font size or font type which is readable. It's important to take care of your body language, how you are interacting with your audience, and also your tone, your vocal range, and your gesture. So within body language, you need to stand straight while you are presenting your work. You need to make an eye contact with the audience, and also you need to make them feel that you are addressing each and every one of them. And don't forget to smile at times to convey that enthusiasm and confidence. Vocal control is another very important part of delivering a confident presentation. Do not go too fast in your presentation. Speak clearly and loud enough to be heard by the people in the audience, and use pauses in between for emphasis rather than using uh, the fillers, and also give some time for the audience to take in the data that you are showing. So after the presentation, when you are asked with the questions, then you want to handle those questions confidently and you want to give them the correct answer. So if you do not know the answer to the question, don't just make up the answer at the moment. Rather than that, you can simply say that I don't know the answer to this particular question. It's an interesting question, so maybe I will follow up after this presentation and I will get back to you. So having said that, you also need to anticipate some possible questions and prepare them beforehand. So knowing your audience is very, very important while you're presenting your work so that you can tailor your presentation based on the audience. Presenting to your friends or family members will help overcome that problem, because that time you may not be able to use a lot of jargon, you will not be using a lot of scientific words, but you will try to make it as general as possible so that people can understand the concept of what you are working on. So you need to show your passion when you are presenting your work, and you need to show that enthusiasm that you have within that research area, because that will not only help get the engagement from the audience, but also they will remember your presentation in a memorable way. As I mentioned before, you start by, telling a story about your research work, why it matters, why people need to care about it, and you also need to end your presentation in the same note in the conclusion slide. You need to again remind the audience like why that matters, why that is important for them to care about. So that will help people get the gist of your presentation and also help them think about your presentation after the presentation is done. Remember, confident delivery is the most important aspect of any presentation. I hope the content of this video will be helpful for you to deliver your next presentation confidently. Good luck. So that's all for today, and I will see you in my next video. Thank you for watching.